It's staggering. We do 20,000 plus nurse visits a month,
Yes,
every
Yes.
month.
Yes.
250,000
Medicine, yes.
visits in a
Yes.
school year.
yes.
Well, I grew up in this community, and she's right. Back then, you just viewed the nurse as you scraped your knee, you're throwing up and need to lay down, you need a Tylenol, whatever. And now, with all the different attention deficit disorders and things like that, there's so many medicines that
Exactly.
need administered. And the fact that, right, you're
Yeah.
a seasoned ER nurse. I mean, the things that you have
Yes.
seen, it's probably amazing to the community that
Yes.
your expertise is coming
and
to a school.
the school I work, you know, much more prone to the injuries, and I'm working for the outdoor school, so. But, you know, and I can advise the parents, and they are happy because, you know, just a sprain can be a sprain or can be a hairline fracture of a growth plate. You know, so if you explain that way to the parent, then they trust you more, and they trust other nurses, and it's the community, you know,
You're building
looking in the
goodwill.
mirror of the, you know, hospital and nurses and the nursing staff. And I think it's a very good thing. I'm happy about the wellness center you were talking about and wellness program you will, in that way we can teach more, like you said. I'm older generation now, I'm the baby boomer, but as very little people know, in my younger days of nursing, I worked socialized medicine. I was born, raised, schooled in a communist country, and I worked socialized medicine.
Which country?
Romania.
Romania. We interviewed a physician from Romania today.
Yeah, Dr. Radu Teodoru from John Hopkins physician. He is Romanian. He speaks Romanian and French. He's my husband's doctor. But anyway, so I know and I saw all the changing. I know how that can be, and it's a very bad thing. So that's why we have to be focused, even if we change it. Even to say in this country we get a one-payer system healthcare, we cannot keep our focus of quality, because when you be a part of a, to say, government, and you government employee, the quality goes if we don't keep our focus, because it's a human nature. People get the same pay, the physician, there is no incentive.
It's a challenge.
It's
And
very
we-
challenging.
We, you know, the trade-off is that when you pay on the way we do, which is the fee-for-service model, your incentive is to do things.
Yes,
The analogy is to a carpenter, everything is a nail. And so there is a balancing act, and this idea that we're gonna pay groups of providers a bucket of money, and that's all you get, you figure out how to either keep them healthy and avoid the needs, or you meet their needs, or you lose your contract. It's going to be a grand experiment, see if that
Yeah.
works. We did it in the 90s, and I was in the upper Midwest, in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Different world. I mean, it's a very different people, a very different healthcare delivery system. But it worked pretty well there. The difference was the insurance companies were owned by the providers there. So you didn't have big independent, for-profit, Wall Street-owned insurance companies.
and also, I'm not sure how long you work, did you work in a
I've been
Washington Hospital?
17 years here.
Remember how the emergency room used to be?
Mhm.
Because the philosophy changed when we went to MAP
Mhm.
and a group of doctors. I worked the night shift.
With the
in
position
whole
groups, it's
hospital.
always going to change
The
as to who's
emergency
contracted in.
room.
Yeah.
Was overcrowded, people were waiting, we had few
We deal with that
events.
at times now, but the
Yes,
census is
but
hitting everyone.
It's a different, you know, the philosophy and the way we trying to do things, the timing and the incentive in a way too, because the physicians, they have incentive.
80,000 ER visits a year.
And
We're about the
it's-
fifth
it's-
largest in the state.
It's completely changed, and anybody who worked at a World Hospital can tell. I used to get headache when I step in, and the emergency room was, waiting room was overcrowded. But that's what
I think
it's
they
important.
streamlined the triage way that we take the patients also, which was a great help.
Yes, yes,
Um,
things change and they
right.
change for better.
Well, you got
There are a lot of changes for better,
50
yes.
beds, I mean, that helps
And
a
that
lot.
helps.
But, you know, still,
But is the wait time any different than it was before?
Dramatically different, yeah. I mean, adjudication of care is less than 3 hours total, start to finish. Where waiting gets bad now is getting them, when a decision's made to admit them, getting them upstairs and in a bed. We had it working with bridge orders, and the medical staff didn't. Well, we had an incident, and they decided bridge orders were the reason for the incident, so we stopped them. And so we're seeing a tremendous backup again. By the way, bridge orders weren't the problem. It was clinical judgment, but that's another story.
We're finding from the time they go into the ER till they come up to the floors, with your new policies for protocol for IV narcotics and things, we don't have enough monitors. We're playing the shuffle game. But we have to look at to see what we can do to free up. They need to go back to their policy and revisit that.
They try to send almost every patient up saying they need to be on, and a lot of them don't need to be.
Right.
Mhm.
But if they would follow their own policy too, of it, after 48 hours, if you have a person that hasn't really done anything, like on our pre-fence monitors, where we have telemetry monitors and pre-fence monitors, that, we need to look at a system to make it better, to make it, that they could get these patients up. Because we're bringing patients with, some of them should have monitors on, and we just don't have enough to give them out.
Well, one of the things that's gonna happen is you're gonna have a whole population of observation patients pulled out of the inpatient and moved to the ops unit when we get it up and running. And we're putting monitors in there on the ops unit, so they'll have their own dedicated monitors. They're still sorting through kinda some of the details of that, but that's gonna take 20, 25 of your existing patients a day and concentrate them upstairs. I think observation has been the overload in a lot of the things that we do. I'm hoping that pulling it out and specializing it will decompress some of that.
We're hoping that that's gonna alleviate some of our issues.
It doesn't get at what you're saying though, and that is, the policies were well thought out, but it's easier just to kind of write an order for everything.
I think it's an insurance policy for the physician.
You
Yes.
don't get sued for putting them on the monitor, but you might get sued for not putting them on the monitor. So, but maybe in the end, what's gonna happen is just everything in the hospital's got a monitor. And the patient comes in, you just put them on a monitor. I think that's really where it's headed. Because it's really one big ICU is what's happening a little bit at a time. I don't wanna forget our last two. Elaine?
Okay. I found that what you talked about was very interesting, especially the figures. I too care for my 82-year-old mom for about 2 years now, and Medicare, the statistics, the 100,000 new clients coming in was very interesting. I do the charge posting. It's a pilot, so I can't really say a lot. It's going well right now. I'm just, waiting, and I think it's gonna do good.
Oh, I do too. I think that
I do.
the charge captures,
I like the idea, I do.
converting the captured charges to actually on the bill, I think it's
Mhm. Yeah, so right now I don't have a lot of, questions about it, but I do like it.
How long have you been at it?
The end of August, we moved in, but I've done charge posting.
Really, you've got 90 days,
Mm-hmm,
so probably
Yeah.
should see some results by now.
mm-hmm, yeah. I think it's gonna do good.
So what's the world look like from IT these days?
Looking up. IT's good. I think probably there's some curiosity in our area about the MSO and what the impact, what the outlook of that may end up being for us.
Well, you know, those things are always scary because they're unknown, but, you know, our problem isn't that we don't have enough work to go around. Our problem is there's more needs to occur in the world of information technology than any of us can afford to staff. And so the grand experiment there is gonna be, can we begin to leverage expertise off of each other in a way that gets more done collectively than we can do individually. So I think if anything, there's just tremendous opportunity in it. And because of what I'll call networks, not just internet, but networks in general, you know, you can create a virtual IT system from about anywhere to support these 3 hospitals. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity. Are you a Meditech guy? You work to support Meditech?
I do some, the last year has been mainly practice systems and all
Yeah,
scripts.
so you're the Allscripts guy. Well, we like Allscripts. I mean, it took us a while to get on the platform, but, you know, solved a lot of technical problems, and Allscripts is pretty highly functional. And we haven't talked as much with Frederick and Western Maryland about practice management systems and physician EMR. We've talked more about the hospital. I really think that there's the state-of-the-art in hospital-based systems are things like Epic, the new, I forget the name of the company. There's 3 or 4 sort of top-tier companies, and then candidly, I think Meditech slipped. Meditech used to be unequivocally the best value in information technology systems for hospitals. Do everything the big boys do for about half the price, but they just, you know, they just haven't had the panache that they once had, and their new product, this I guess it's called 6.2 now, or it's on paper, it's a modern system. It's, you know, it's client server based, it's all of those things, but they've had so many failed installs. And Frederick is in the middle of the latest version of that, the first U.S. hospital to install it. It was installed in several Canadian hospitals, and then they were the first. They don't like to admit it, but they're having a lot of problems with it. And, you know, you hear from the doctors that work at both places. Just when I feel bad about how things are going, I love to catch Dr. Johnson and have him tell me what's going on at Frederick, and it's like, oh, well, we don't have that problem, we don't have that problem. Go away feeling pretty good. I saw him in the parking lot this morning. He said, okay, I'm gonna do my annual scorecard. If I had to admit my mom to a hospital this year, it would be Meritus. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good sign. And, so, you know, I think in the next month, we'll start to kind of get some flesh on the bones and get you guys a little more comfortable that, you know, we still got 60 physicians that we gotta keep automated. When you look at it all, we got 190 physicians when you add in Frederick and Western Maryland's employees. And Frederick is they're the other big one, not Allscripts, but Nexus, is that what it's called? Or Nextel, I forget. NextGen, and Western Maryland's piecemeal. So, you know, we intentionally said we don't need to worry about getting a standardized platform in the short run. Because in the short run, the next big thing in IT is going to be population health management software. The one we've settled on is Explorus. And what it does, it reaches into all the computer systems and it creates a profile of everything that's going on. So it has all your medicine listed on it, and all the office visits regardless of where you went are on it, all your conditions and reports are on it, and then it lays what you've had done against